Just 5 more days until I watch Ilia Topuria absolutely slime out Charles Oliveira, and I have never been happier, man. What's up, boys? We are back, and today we're going to be going over and predicting UFC 317's main event. This deserves its entire whole video because we all know this is going to be a certified banger of a fight. Or is it? Is it going to be Charles Oliveira getting absolutely slimed out in one round? Let's talk about that today. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And yeah, man, subscribe. It would mean a lot. But I'm very excited for this fight. I'm very excited to see Ilia Topuria chin Charles Oliveira. I'm rooting for the bad guy. I'm rooting for Ilia Topuria. And this comes because just 2 weeks ago, Sean O'Malley. I wanted Sean O'Malley to win. Sean O'Malley is one of my favorite fighters ever. I love Sean O'Malley. He lost. He lost bad. He lost in dominant fashion to Murad Dvalishvili. People made fun of me. People laughed in my face. People call me stupid for picking Sean O'Malley. And now I'm going to do that to every single person who picks Charles Oliveira or even has a little bit of delusion in that Charles Oliveira can pull this off, because the fact is Charles Oliveira isn't good enough. He was never good enough. I feel like I'm a heel cutting a promo, but Charles Oliveira is going to get dominated. If he's your favorite fighter, well then I'm sorry. You're going to have to get a new favorite fighter because this guy's going to retire after what Ilia Topuria does to this man. And to start off the video, to start off my predictions, I want to go over the biggest narratives that I'm seeing going into this fight. The most common narratives that everyone's talking about going into this fight. The first narrative I have is that Charles Oliveira isn't chinny anymore. People who say this are literally delusional, man. Charles Oliveira, we look at his last fight against Michael Chandler. A lot of people like to say that was an eye poke. Okay, it was an eye poke. Charles Oliveira should have kept his guard up. That's his fault. Then Michael Chandler decided to go crazy. He decided to pour shots on Charles Oliveira, and he knocked him down. He was able to get a couple good ground and pound shots. Obviously, he still got the decision in Charles Oliveira, but he got knocked down pretty much in his last fight. You can't deny that. I don't know if they actually counted it as a knockdown, but he kind of fell into the corner and gave up like the quitter he is. Like the absolute quitter Charles Oliveira is. He crumbled, and he's barely won that fight against Michael Chandler, and that's a fact. We'll look at Charles Oliveira's fight before that to Arman Tsarukyan. A lot of people pointed this fight, oh bro, Charles Oliveira didn't get chinned at all. He didn't get hurt at all in terms of the striking in the Arman Tsarukyan fight. Yeah. Because who has Arman Tsarukyan ever put out cold with his fist? Don't give me that Beneil Dariush. Bro, he need Beneil Dariush. He knocked him out cold. I don't care, man. Everyone has power with their knee. If I need someone on the right side of the head, I could knock them out. You mean to tell me that just because Arman Tsarukyan knocked out Joaquin Silva means that this man is some marauder? Oh, bro, Arman Tsarukyan, he's this marauder. He's a striker. He's gonna put you out if he lands right. No one's ever talked about Arman Tsarukyan in that matter. And the fact is, Arman Tsarukyan isn't a certified striker like any other striker that Charles Oliveira has faced. We'll look at his last couple fights. Any striker Charles Oliveira has faced, he's gotten hurt in that fight. His last fight against Michael Chandler, he got hurt. He got illegal shots to the back of the head. I mean, that's not really anyone's fault but the referees. But he got hurt in his last fight. You can't tell me he didn't. We'll look at his last fight against the striker before that, Justin Gaethje. The man got knocked down like 3 times. The man got knocked down like 3 times before he beat Gaethje. We'll look at the fight before that, Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier rocked Charles Oliveira. He rocked him bad. He rocked him down. He knocked him down once. He was piecing him up on the feet. Charles Oliveira obviously got the submission. Then we'll look at the first fight against Charles Oliveira, against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler was piecing him up. Michael Chandler won the first round. Michael Chandler stunned him the first round. Michael Chandler had this guy cut open the first round. You can't tell me that this guy has a good chin now, especially against Ilia Topuria, in which we'll get into the next narrative, that Ilia Topuria won't have power at 145. This is actually the most laughable one. This is the most laughable one, and especially because I am seeing creators like Bedtime MMA actually talk about this. Are you serious? Are you serious? It is 10 pounds. Ilia Topuria, part of the reason that he moved up to 145 was that he couldn't make the weight. It was too hard to make the weight. If you're constantly cutting down and taking all that muscle off your body, taking all that water out of your brain, then you're not gonna have power. Theoretically, you're not gonna have as much power as you would if you actually bulked up properly and are in your proper division. Listen, Ilia Topuria was telling the truth when he said that he could not make 145. Because why would anyone just vacant their title for absolutely no reason? You could say it was for the mega fight against Islam Makhachev, but we never even got the mega fight against Islam Makhachev. Ilia Topuria was telling the truth when he said that he couldn't make weight. 155 is Ilia Topuria's natural division. That is a fact, and we'll go into the next narrative that Ilia Topuria is too small for lightweight. And I actually kind of agree for this. I think he's short. In the matter of height, he is short. You know, he's shorter than Michael Chandler. And we've seen Michael Chandler face off against Charles Oliveira. He was really undersized in that fight. But it's similar to Michael Chandler. You know, similar to Michael Chandler, we don't really account for Michael Chandler's size when we're talking about him versus any lightweight. I mean, it's understandable that he's short. But you look at Michael Chandler. He is literally this wrecking ball packed with muscle on him. He's a short little midget who is just gonna marauder max your way to you. And in a way, Ilia Topuria kind of has that build now. You look at Ilia Topuria in his last couple pictures that he posted to his Instagram or whatever. He's looking really compact. He's looking really built, still maintaining his physique. Obviously, he's not fat anymore, but the guy has put on 10 times more muscle. He's looking strong. He's looking fit, and I genuinely think this man is going to be deadly at 155. I do, and I truly do believe that. The next narrative that we have is the fight will be closer than you think, aka the final narrative for this video. The fight will be closer than you think. And it's understandable to say this, you know, people like Bedtime MMA had made videos talking about it. And I can somewhat agree with you. I can agree with you to an extent. But when you go over this narrative, the fight will be closer than you think. How long are we talking? Because I can agree that this fight will be closer than you think for about a round. I think that this fight is going to start off slow. It's going to start off really slow for both fighters. Both of these fighters are technically just slow starters. And then once Ilia Topuria gets going, I think we all know what's going to happen. I do not agree with any of these narratives. I think these narratives are stupid. And if you agree with any of these narratives, then you're an idiot. That's the truth. Back, because the truth is Ilia Topuria will brutally knock out Charles Oliveira. And now I want to go over how I actually think this fight will go. I kind of teased it a little bit ago, but let's actually go over it. So round one in this fight, before we even get into round one though, I want to talk about the face-off, dude. The face-off these guys are going to have, my heart is going to be beating for this fight, just like any big fight. And the second that bell rings, I believe that Ilia Topuria, he's going to start off slow like always. You know, Charles Oliveira starts off slow as well, but Ilia Topuria is just, he's like a marauder. He's so composed. He's so technical. He's, in a way, just a more technical Michael Chandler. And Michael Chandler had Charles Oliveira rocked in many moments. And if you think about why Michael Chandler was not able to get it done against Charles Oliveira, it's because he was just too rowdy. He was too crazy with his punches. He would just go swinging like crazy. And Ilia Topuria isn't going to do that. Ilia Topuria is going to manage himself. And I think Charles Oliveira is going to take this first round. I think Charles Oliveira is going to overpower Ilia for moments in this first round. He's going to land decent shots on Ilia Topuria. We've seen this in the Max Holloway fight. Max Holloway was doing good against Ilia Topuria. He is going to land some shots against Ilia Topuria. Everyone's going to be thinking it's going to be a fraud check. Everyone's going to be thinking Charles Oliveira actually might have this in the bag. And I hate to break it to you, but Ilia Topuria is going to land a nice overhand. Charles Oliveira is just going to take it, though. I'm not going to say, oh, bro, Ilia Topuria, one punch is all it takes. But that is true in a way. But Ilia Topuria is going to land, I think, one big shot in the first round. It's kind of going to just, like, rock Charles maybe a little bit. You know, we're going to see it in Charles' face. He's going to back up a little bit. It's going to be towards the end of the round. Ilia Topuria is not going to be able to capitalize off it. Charles Oliveira will probably still take that first round just for the being more active in that first round. Like I said, we know Ilia starts off slow. Going into the second round, the big round in my opinion. Charles Oliveira, I believe he's going to try to shoot early. I think he's going to want to just test if he can actually get the fight to the ground. You know, the first round for Charles Oliveira was just testing how he can do with the striking, if he can actually stay there. And depending on how that first round goes, if Charles Oliveira feels uncomfortable or comfortable, it's going to determine if Charles Oliveira is going to shoot. So I believe with Ilia Topuria, my prediction is that Ilia Topuria is going to land a nice overhand right on Charles Oliveira that first round, and going into the second, Charles Oliveira isn't going to like that. He's going to try to just shoot early. Ilia Topuria is going to stuff that takedown, however. Ilia Topuria is going to stuff that takedown, and he's going to get a lot of confidence. He's going to just get a smirk on his face. And then, boys, I think this is the beginning of the end. I think he's going to start landing big shots. He's going to land a 1-2, a jab. It's going to kind of rock Charles Oliveira back. We see Charles Oliveira back up against the cage, and he's going to start pouring shots, dude. Ilia Topuria is going to start pouring shots. Charles Oliveira might land a big one back, but then we see the kill shot. Ilia Topuria flatlines Charles Oliveira, whether it be with an uppercut, an overhand, a jab even. I believe that it is ridiculous to say that Ilia Topuria won't find Charles Oliveira the entire 25 minutes of this fight. I truly don't believe that's a possibility. If you are saying that Charles Oliveira will not get chinned this entire fight, well, then you're delusional. And I'm not just saying that like it's an O'Malley fight against Merab. To say O'Malley's not going to find a button against Merab for 25 minutes, that's a different thing. O'Malley is a one-sided fighter. As much as I hate to say it, he really only has his striking. If Ilia Topuria doesn't find that strike, he's going to look to take this to the ground. He's going to look to smudge grapple. And I understand that it's against Charles Oliveira, one of the most decorated jiu-jitsu MMA artists of all time. But I believe that Charles Oliveira, he's a great jiu-jitsu artist, but Ilia Topuria's jiu-jitsu is great as well. He's not going to be afraid to take this to the ground. What a lot of people don't realize as well is that Ilia Topuria, whenever he fights someone, he fights them at their own game. Whoever he faces, he tries to outbox them if they're a striker. He tries to out-wrestle them if they're a grappler. He does this. He's similar to a GSP who is known for doing this, but a lot of people don't talk about this. I believe that Ilia Topuria is going to want to take this to the ground in some instances. I don't believe maybe he'll get it, but I believe that Charles Oliveira is going to be kind of on his back against the cage. Maybe Ilia Topuria is trying to get the two underhooks, get the two hands together to take him down. I'm not saying that'll happen. I don't think Ilia Topuria will necessarily find Charles Oliveira's chin, but that's a very real possibility that Ilia Topuria will take down Charles Oliveira. And Charles Oliveira, in my opinion, he has to be perfect for the entire fight. The entire 25 minutes, this guy has to be picture perfect if he wants to win this. He has to incorporate grappling, he has to incorporate clinch work, and he has to have a little smudge work against the cage. That is how he needs to win this fight, in my opinion. Ilia Topuria, in my opinion, I believe this guy can afford to lose a couple rounds. He's not going to gas, you know. He's going to be relentless until that 5th round. He will find the chin, and I will laugh when he finds the chin of Charles Oliveira. I will be jumping for joy when Ilia Topuria hits a nice left or right hook against the jaw of Charles Oliveira, and he absolutely gets flatlined. You know, a little bit of this video is rage bait, but my opinion still stands. I believe Ilia Topuria is going to win by knockout at UFC 317. I understand Charles Oliveira is a very likable figure, his underdog story, all of that, and I maybe kind of can get under it in some instances, but I'm never going to call myself a big fan of Charles Oliveira. My prediction is Ilia Topuria. If you guys disagree, let me know down below. If you guys agree, let me know down below, boys. And my full card predictions will be coming out in just a couple of days. MMA Outpost out.